They say you really only know a tree by the fruit that it bears. A good tree bears good fruit. So come here, let me holler at you, the nephew. You, right there, the one with the for the all-seeing eye, that too. You, big nephew. Let me holler at you. Yeah, the spell videos is what turned you on to me. Well, okay, in the interest of full disclosure, I have to tell you I am a believer, and I began to be a believer about 33 is when I solidly was stepping into it. 33, 34. So I've only been that for 10 years, but prior to that, I spent 20 years in the occult. And that's really where what I learned was I had to learn about the dark side, all the way down to the bottom of it. Okay, conjuring and all of that. I had to learn that in order to be useful to battle against it. So now, all right. So now, and I only say that because, some people are offended with, whatever you believe if you don't believe like they believe. But if I were a person who had a spirit on me and I tried A, B, and C, I sure enough wouldn't turn up my nose at D, E, and F neither. Okay? All right. So I thank you for having the open mind enough to reach out to me, and I really sincerely do want to help you. And yes, this is free. It should be free. One of the telltale signs that somebody's not operating out of the abundance of the power of good and righteousness is that they would come at you for money. Right. Yeah. So, of course, we all need provision to operate, but I believe what the word says, and that is that, a workman is worthy of their hire. So if you do the work like you're supposed to do, then you will be rewarded because you reap what you sow. Or as some say, the universe will give you back what you put out. Okay. So now, but now this is what I have discovered. And now I have, I almost chuckled when you said that you tried the different names, Mother Goddess, Gaia, and different ones, because I had it happen to me, and that's how I learned. Something jumped on me, and when it jumped on, well, it was threatening me. The Creator gave me the grace and mercy not to let it jump on me like it could have. But what it initially did was it spoke to me in my mind. It said, this is not Anise. Fear me. I was talking to a girl named Anise when it came out to her. And it spoke directly in my mind and told me that. And then it manifested a growl that was quadraphonic stereo surround sound. It went all around the room with a rotary effect. It went all around the room. It was behind me, up under me, on both sides of me, not just coming through the speaker of the phone. And so from that experience, when it kicked off, I didn't at first understand what was going on, but by the time I got enough sense about myself to realize, okay, this is like a demonic entity or something, has jumped. out of this person. By the time I had sense to do that, I said, okay, well, let me, I wasn't noticing that this entire incident was sparked off by me reading a book called Dr. Ken Olson, Exorcism, Fact or Fiction. I was still of the belief that that it's not necessary. Well, I was of the firm belief that the church was wrong and that the whole devil God thing was all twisted up. And it is twisted up, and the church is wrong about a million things, and they have twisted and tainted up much of what was the original intent for mankind to tie himself back to the Creator. Overstood. But we have these names that we're given. So when this incident happened to me and the growl came out, the logical thing for me to do was to call the names that are supposed to be the superior beings or the beings of righteousness, right? So I call out these names: Horus, Heru, Ra, Tahuti, Thoth, and it's not that nothing happened. The roar intensified. Something did happen. It was only while I was reading this book and I came across the word Jesus, because the person that wrote it was a Christian. I was not had great disdain for that at the time. I wasn't neutral. I had disdain for it. And so I knew that it could not be that. But I was reading his book when everything jumped off, so something told me, well, go back to reading the book. So I started to reading the book again to this individual. And when I ran across the word Jesus in reading, not putting any emphasis behind it or whatever, the entity reacted to it. Now, I went for a long time, and, basically that's the long and the short of the story. If you watch, you'll find me telling that testimony a number of times in great detail to give blow-by-blow accounts of what happened and why it happened and what I was thinking and everything, just to show a person, that I'm not nuts. I wasn't raised as a Christian. And I don't have a dog in the fight. My mama didn't raise no fool. I wanted to see what worked. And when I threw these names out, that was the one that weakened the thing. Now, you are never cut off from the source of the Creator. And you are never cut off from a chance to accept the salvation of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, what demons do not have to move for, and see what I didn't, when I had that first experience at 33, that particular first experience, I didn't realize that there was any power in the name whatsoever. My entire relationship with the name was doubt concerning it. The white man gave us this name, blah, 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 all of that. So for it to work for me was a miraculous thing. And since then, the Father has shown me why it works now, because I believe it like a madman now. He showed me why it worked then. I didn't believe it at all then. Now I'm just going to tell you what I've learned, okay? Because again, as late as 2015, I tried another name. I've tried Yeshua, Yahavashah. I know these things like the back of my hand. Demons don't respect it. They don't move. First of all, from their perspective, you're not good, and neither am I. Well, in trying to cast one out one time from my ego, and see, we can't do that either, and that's what folks do when they tell you they can get rid of it. I can't get rid of anything, okay? But I know what to say to make it go, right? Now, one of them told me one time, I said, come out of her, you unclean thing. And it said to me from out of that person, you ain't so clean yourself. Okay? So, but see, that is part of the Most High giving us a hint and a clue through that experience. Every experience is to teach us something. And this is what that experience is to teach, okay, if I may. That we are to remove ourselves from it, because we have no power to get it out, okay? Our power was to keep it from coming in or to let it in. Now, once we let it in, and I remember that portion of your email also, you said, what did I do to let it in? Now, what you expressed right before that part was that you were consistently angry. Anger, doorways galore. And it lies, but it also, at the end of the day, has to bow down to the same creator. Okay? It cannot usurp what is the will of the creator. And so that's why we got to stay within the will and the covering of the creator. That's why the words to say is this: in the authority of the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I ask our Father to loose from right now and bind up and cast back to wherever belongs, according to the word and authority of the Lord Jesus Christ, the Messiah and Savior of Nazareth. And we touch and agree and we call it done. Now, what I did in making that statement was I removed myself, as opposed to saying, I command you, come on. Hey, if I'm thousands of years old, I'm not finna listen to a guy from Detroit, 44 years old. Okay, so that's why you have to step out of it. And again, that's ego and pride, because and sometimes it'll trick you, and it'll, when you're in that ego and pride, to help to build up more ego and pride, so you'll be blinder and blinder, and it'll leave for a minute. And then you get to feeling swole up. Yeah, I made it leave. Now a spirit of pride can jump on you. That's how they work. Okay, nothing make them go like in the authority of the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and then humbling oneself. Yes, that spirit was right. I'm not clean. I'm not righteous, and I'm not good. I strive to be those things. But to claim those things is putting myself up on a psychological and subconscious pedestal that to that realm equates to pride. And that realm enters in through pride as often as they enter in through anger or drugs. So all the brothers and sisters talking about black power, black pride, the pride spirit enters in through that. Even Native American pride, white pride, whatever. Pride cometh before the fall. So that's where we have to look at sin as the culprit. Okay? The things that we are told are sins. Scripture says, be angry and sin not. You can be angry. That wasn't the sin. The sin is when we allow for anger to enslave us or to master us. Emotions make good servants but terrible masters. So, and once we are under the influence, like when I was under the influence, your emotions and your mood is all over the place. Okay, because you're constantly opening up doors, and these things is coming in and out, doing what they will with your body. To these various devils, different shapes, different sizes, of course, hues. There are devils that are huge. There are those that are tiny. The Smurfs represent a particular type of devil or quote-unquote demon. Okay, a little blue demon. You also find these blue demon spirits or entities personified in the pantheon of Hindu India. You also find spirits that are tricksters, gremlins. Movies made about those. Going back to the old fighter pilots from the World Wars, talking about gremlins interfering with the mechanisms of their airplanes and whatnot. And you even had the Twilight Zone movie that exemplified that, the gremlin on the wing of the plane. But all of these things do exist, and the various forms are there to approach different styles of people in different ways. You can't get a black person necessarily with the same exact trick that you can a white person, because within that trick there's communication. So sometimes the communication has to be something that's tailor-made, when communication is different from culture to culture, as it is. These spirits have realized how to tailor-make different versions of themselves that appeal to different cultures And they've been doing this since Sumer, Babylon, Kemet. Now, I mean, it was what the fallen, the Nephilim, did from the beginning when they came down to mankind. And they provided mankind with, according to the Enochian texts, cosmetics, astrology, numerology, how to grow herbs, hallucinogenics. So these beings who came down, that's what Anunnaki beings, right? Those who came down to earth from Anu, the Most High, who, supposedly, but, in Sumerian, but we know that they were deceived. What we hear from all of the mythology from Sumer on down, and some people will say Kemet is older, so let's say that from Sumer or Kemet, and some will say Babylon. Okay, these three cultures had something in common. You see Dr. Walter Veith do long exposés where he very collegiately and scholastically and academically breaks down how from culture to culture it was the same myth, really, the same original myth passed down. Okay? But who was it passed down from? Until one has overstanding and understanding of that, one will be deceived by one of these versions, tailor-made for you. Now, if you look at the fallen angels as the origin of, the Smurfs, the Gremlins, and the tall, white, blonde beings, quote-unquote Aryan beings that Hitler saw, that guided him and gave him technology. Okay, if you see all of these beings, the black-headed ones that the Sumerians saw, okay, the reptilians that the Zulus saw, okay, all of these being the fish-headed ones that the Dogon saw. All of these beings gave mankind his template for quote-unquote civilization, but along with that, quote-unquote technology, the tools that we use to build and destroy. So this is why the Brotherhood worships, at the end of the day, with all of the different words that they'll use, Jabulon and different ones, they will try to throw you off, ball, they will throw you off. But at the end of the day, they worship the fallen and the leader of the fallen as Lucifer, the Roman or the Latin for Lucifer, light bearer, the one who brought light as in knowledge. This is where they get the illuminated ones, or the Illuminati, okay, which, different folks have different things they believe about that. And some folks want to claim it and say, well, it was stolen by the evil ones. Lots of folks do that, black and white. That's what New Age can build a foundation upon. But in reality, the illumination came originally from Lucifer, the light bearer. And those who are serious with New Age, like I talk about those who are not serious with Kemet and all that type of stuff, you talk all that talk, but it's all aesthetics. You're just trying to look a certain way, have a certain identity, and identify with a certain group of people. But at the end of the day, you're not doing the work. Faith without works is dead. Do the metu neter. Get in contact with the deity that is linked to you, like I was endeavoring to do, okay? And like I did, and found out for myself the nature of these beings, the nature of the netero. You have to know their nature, not just what you're told. Because what we are told in the books, and I've read them, I used to believe in them, okay? But we're told things in the books to intentionally jam us up, because the books are written by scholars who, by and large, are either themselves or get dollars from the Brotherhood members, or they are themselves Brotherhood members. So their job is to deceive the initiates, the lower level, the lower degrees. You and I not being members of these brotherhoods are considered goyim, the sheeple. So the things that they provide for you, unless you go through the brotherhood, and even if you go through them, they have a different level of deception for the studious and academically minded concerning occult and esoteric things. But for the average bear square like you and I, who are not brotherhood members, I hope for you, I know for me, but I know some of them listen too. But for you and I, for us lower degrees, or for us goyim, for us lower degrees, no degrees, folks, we're looked at as the sheeple. And so you cannot give us the truth through books. Everything is regulated, certainly from the top down. Knowledge would be at the top. The brain is at the top of the head for this reason. Everything begins with a spirit, inspiration, thought. Spirit sparks the thought. The thought process then begins to manifest the idea. So, if we look at everything's origin, when we look at what the world is, that's why, like the real sanctified folks, they talk about the worldly things of the world, okay? Because it is the world. The devil is called the prince of this world in Scripture, okay? And because it is the world, and he runs the world systems, that's why the brotherhood is set up, because the brotherhood makes sure that whether they're astronauts or professors at colleges, their report to the world lines up with Lucifer's deception for the world. They cannot release the truth, not in history, etymology, psychology, genealogy, geology, archaeology, mythology. They cannot release the truth, because then the goyim, the sheeple, will not be able to be controlled by the lies. And we all agree that's how people are controlled. We may disagree with what tools are being used, but we all agree, I think everybody can agree tonight, that we know that certain tools are used. We know that religion is used. We know that the medical industry is used. We know that the pharmaceutical industry is used. We know that the grocery industry is used. We know that the retail industry is used. We know that the music industry is used. We know that the legal system is used and manipulated. We know that even societal things, racialism, the tension between races is manipulated. We know that racial classification is manipulated, We know that these things occur, but I think that folks have different ideas about to what degree each tool is used. But at the end of the day, if we can all unite and agree that the powers that be, the adversaries, use a ancient system of magic and worship that leads back, and ritual is a form of worship that leads back not just to Isis, Horus, Osiris, or Set, Osir, and Heru, but not just back to Hermes, thrice great, who was Tahuti or Thoth, Gemini, okay, both the ibis and the baboon. The ibis for its intelligence, the baboon, although we look at monkeys as intelligent, it's in comparison to other animals. You call somebody a baboon, that's an insult. Okay, not like calling them an ibis would be a compliment. But there is a definite contrast between how the two are viewed. This is symbolic of the double-mindedness necessary to be a part of this Babylonian mystery system. It's why the stars go ham. It's why they tend to lose their minds after they reach a certain age. And they begin to get, when you reach a certain age, if you were raised in Islam, you begin to get more serious about reading the Quran. If you were raised in Hinduism, I can imagine you would become more serious in doing your devotion and reading the Bhagavad Gita. If you were into Christianity, that may be about the age or the time when you're mature, you're really looking into the world and what it means to you, and so you may get more into your Christianity. Well, the same thing happens with these people who are raised up in this satanic community we call Hollywood or Hollywood, and its other names, and also the not just the famous but the infamous. There are whole communities of children who are raised up not knowing anything about anything other than New Age. It may be called something different there, but that's what they'll be taught. It may even be cloaked in Islam or Christianity, or it may just be cloaked in a free love sort of thing, like Manson did, who was a member of the Process. And you can look at Days of Noah videos where he breaks down those things in a way where you get all of the details necessary for those who want more detail. But in short, this New Age belief system, which leads back to Lucifer, is what we all have to really focus on as being the adversary. And it's not that, and I saw someone comment about, linking homosexuality to pedophilia being wrong. It was a sister, and, I'm sorry, my sister, I don't know where you got that idea that I say that they are one and the same, okay? But just like marijuana and Molly are not one and the same, and everyone who may engage in marijuana, which they should not, may not decide to deal with Molly or anything beyond, but many do. And it can be a gateway, okay? And, it's better to be safe than sorry. So when one does engage in and again, we're talking about things on the esoteric, not the exoteric. I understand what the world and society and teachers and scholars and academics say concerning that condition, okay? But I also understand from experience and testimonies with people who have battled with that spirit, that it is indeed a spirit behind it. And when you tell one lie, it leads to another. You tell two lies to cover each other. They used to come on Saturday mornings when you was watching cartoons. But when you open up one door and let these spirits in, you playing the Ouija board, you listening to Bone Thugs, Mr. Ouija, whatever the case may be, it may happen to you. It is by the grace of God, the true and living, not using the name of Gadim or Gajarael or any false being. But again, we have to reel the most fish in. And to be a fisher of men, you got to use the proper bait. Jesus did not just walk among those who talked and spoke and knew as he did. Okay, then you preaching to the choir. He said a physician is sent out among the sick. Okay, a physician should be sent among those who need healing. And so therefore you need to be able to speak their language and understand what they're feeling. So, excuse me if I don't always use this term or that term, the other term. I did it one time, and also someone made this comment. I did it one time, use a haya. I don't any longer. Yah is sufficient for me. When I open KJV, that's what I see. So that's where I'm at with that, and I've gotten testimonies from folks. One in particular that I just could not deny, that showed me that, again, like I said, what the word says, the Messiah knows his sheep's voice, his sheep know his voice, okay? And he's not in a box, okay? He does not respond the way we do. If someone calls us by the incorrect name and we know their voice, we may have our behind on our shoulders and decide not to turn around. This is not the way of the true and living in the flesh. But the focus should always be on the fallen and their influence on mankind, no matter what the culture. See, when it comes to our culture, or what we see as sacred, or what folks have been put in front of us from beyond X-Clan, for my generation, from X-Clan, who really turned me on to Kemet, I began to read, all of the necessary reading materials, the Book of the Dead, and, Stolen Legacy, and of course, capped it off with the Metu Neter, but many books in between, about Ankh and melanin. My group in the basement was called the Melanin Knights. Okay, I was very into those sciences and studies. And I say that, for those who make the assumption that I fell out the sky with a Bible in my diaper. I came this way the most honest way that you can, which is the reason why some folks listen. And more importantly, the reason why some folks are blessed according to their own testimonies, not my word, and not by my power. I am nothing and no one, but by the fact that what I'm saying about the true and living God is His truth. There is a great deception, and it is really creeping through our community. You have, young Pharaoh. You got, even, among the rappers, you have either you're wearing upside down crosses or you're wearing ankhs. Young Thug wears an ankh. And again, I said this before, I'll say it again. It is a combination of male and female, which is why you see so many. I remember when I was a Christian trying to battle the demons that I suffered from for many years. One of those demons I had to battle was pornography. And I remember Cherokee was my favorite porno girl. She's known for having a big behind, but she had the ankh tattooed on her shoulder. Also, when you look throughout Hollywood, when you look at pictures of witches, or if you happen to come across things concerning New Age, especially all throughout YouTube, you'll see folks rocking the ankh of every color. So what you think it is ain't what it is. And see, there are also folks who say that all of the Egyptians were not melaninated, and that their reach and their inspiration to Greece is a reflection of some of the lesser known things that Egypt gave, or Babylon, Egypt, Sumer gave to the world by way of the fallen angels.
Then you can die too.
A bad cousin can teach two youngins. It's just a set of twins. The same thing. And because of the nature of one, let's say it's two twins raised in two different houses on two different sides of town. To everything there is a season, and everything has its place in space. And so that has an effect. So, that one bad cousin can teach those two bad things, and they both take those bad things, and do different things with them in a different direction. One of them might be slicker and cooler with the way they do their bad thing, but it's still bad. The other one more obvious and flat out. Okay, and both is wrong. Two wrongs don't make it right. Okay, but if we're going to indict Greece and look at the things that Greece brought to mankind that are negative, Look at the homosexual culture of Greece, okay, which did also adopt pedophilia. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. It's not my problem. But these two things do link as often as do Molly and marijuana. Not in every case, but in enough cases to say that one may be a gateway to the other, or if we're spiritual people, that one spirit definitely works in concert with the other. And if we're deeper than that, we can say one spirit definitely is the strong man, okay, and guards the other, or brings in the other. So, what you must understand and what you cannot get twisted is that the fallen were themselves worshipped as gods, the gods from the very beginning. We talk about the gods of Rome. We're talking about the fallen, where they appeared to Rome. The gods of Rome are modeled after the gods of Greece, who are really the fallen, and the way that they came to the Greeks. So who are the gods of Greece modeled after? Did this copycat thing just start there? Because we can go into Persia, okay? We can look all around the world. India, we can see a mother goddess figure in India. We can see a mother goddess figure in every society. And the mother goddess figure has a child. So now this is where people get their thing of, well, so that's where the Messiah myth, quote unquote, comes from. But what I say is that if we're talking about the fallen, the agents of Lucifer, who are down here instructing mankind, not just in tools and technology, but on the things to come, in religion, in what they believed, in their rituals. The fallen angels mimicked to the best of their ability the story of the coming Christ because of their once being a part of the heavenly host and having that knowledge. Now, you can say, I'm a lunatic, but this is what I believe. And this is why you have the stories. No one explains why are the stories similar. I just explained it. Because the fallen angels are dead set against the Messiah, the coming of the Christ. And so to ensure that mankind would have a seed of doubt in his mind based upon his knowledge and information, and knowledge increasing in these last days and times, like Daniel said, mankind would have more reason than other, scholastically and academically, because of looking at history and mythology, to doubt the Messiah in his superiority. But in effect, what do you expect? Nobody wants a Lord to tell you what to do, but everybody wants a Savior to save you. You want to be saved. But at the same time, you don't want to be told what to do or revise your lifestyle or your knowledge base. Because see, you can get knowledge of many different things. You can have knowledge of how to conjure a demonic spirit. But what is wisdom? Really, the fear of the Lord is the beginning. So until you really fear something greater than you, which is really ancestral for us to do, all y'all talking all that all that black and white ancestry stuff, you want magic powers, and you want to be able to do what you want to do, have as many wives as you want to have, and basically be in Crowley and do as thou will, colored black. You want to be boastful and prideful. That's why so many of you rap. Man, I'm heavyweight jamming. That wasn't a slap. Straight jabs. Nah. Like we said before, the fallen angels came and taught mankind these things so that mankind would pass them down. This is why you get the passed down stories and mythologies that mirror one another, like you cannot deny you get with Greek culture and the Greek pantheon, and then Roman culture and the pantheon of ancient Rome. Okay, pantheon means the group of gods. The group of gods is identical. The names change, but the game's the same. They have the same characteristics. Okay? And oftentimes, many similarities in the characteristics, the physical characteristics, when they are depicted or drawn. So now, you can't read Stolen Legacy and say that the Greeks get everything from Egypt, but then cherry pick what you're going to say they got. Oh, man. That was your jaw. Now, because we all know that what they used to call in the 60s and 70s Greek style is anal sex, and it was called Greek style. Okay, and even the Greek hazing that you get in fraternities of the, things having to do with the butt. School days, Spike Lee doing the butt, but the paddling on the butt, giving pain to the behind, is all to symbolize or symbolic of these rituals, these homosexual rituals, that in order to lure young men who were ambitious to be their love slaves, older men who had status and power would be a part of these organizations or these exclusive clubs, or groups, what we would call brotherhoods. And part of the young men's initiation getting in would be to have sex with the older men. Okay. And the gymnasium and all of these things is linked to that. The island of Lesbos is where you get lesbian from. Lesbos, spelled just like that, Lesbos. And again, these older men preferred boys. So the Crowleyan idea of, and again, you say, we don't link the two, but watch this. The Crowleyan idea of using young boys for sex, magic, ritual sacrifices as a preferred sacrifice was not his own idea. This idea was one he borrowed from the Egyptian mystery systems or the Babylonian mystery systems, which he knew intimately well enough to be called in to revise the rituals of the 33rd degree. So Crowley really pointed back to Egypt for everything, because he knew, just like Stolen Legacy teaches when you read that book, that everything that the Greeks did was an attempt to mirror what they learned or saw from Egypt. Everything. So now you have the LGBTQLRSTUV community showing these hieroglyphs now of gay men, Egyptians, in situations that, at one time they would explain away as, well, this is a circumcision situation or whatever. But, we who know better know that that was not a practice. Or, many scholars, Jewish scholars. So see, again, you have to always question what the scholars say from experience and from what common sense says. Okay? Those two things beat scholarship and academia every day. But, the scholars would say, well, yeah, the Jewish scholars would say that, no, that was not a practice they learned from the Egyptians. That was a practice that they learned from the Torah. So therefore, from the word of the Father. So therefore, when we see those pictures of the Egyptians doing it, it may be explained away as, well, the Egyptians learned this practice from the Israelites or Hebrews that lived around them, but then they'll come and say, well, we can't prove that the Israelites lived around them, and then we do have Egyptologists who can prove that the Israelites lived with them and around them. Okay? There's always this contrast, of positive and negative. Not duality, but balance, to balance things off. So, although they were black, they were wrong. Karis once said, black Egyptians weren't right. They enslaved black Israelites. That was in the song, The Black Man in Effect, off the Edutainment album, I do believe. And again, Karis One, after making his statements about those who came out as being victimized by Africa Bambaataa, is persona non grata. So don't get it twisted. But yeah, just to show you, people who spew these same things that you swear you know all about, who really get down into it, they see the depths of it. And it's deeper than black and white. It's about wrong and right. Not good and bad. Good and bad is relative. That song sounds bad to me. Every song that I just about hear on the radio nowadays sound bad to me, sound good to a lot of people. So that's relative. You can't tell me it don't sound bad to me. But we can say whether it's wicked or righteous, because we have limits and parameters for what is righteous and what is wicked. Within us, we have these things. But to confirm, because, the heart is deceitful, the mind is deceitful, you think you're being right, sometimes you're wrong. You know that. So, what is the standard? This is why do as thou wilt and New Age, Noir, and following Kemet or Greece. Because when you look at the Boule guys, they believe like y'all do. You Kemetians. Okay? When you look at Crowleyites, they believe like y'all do. When you look at the witches, they believe like y'all do. Who exercises more power with it? I mean, show me something. If it's really powerful, where's the power? All y'all that's into that, if you were really serious with it and really accessing these netaru, you could lift up our whole community. So make these people show and prove. I've got testimonies. Make these people show and prove. Where's the testimonials? It swell up your head and increase your vocabulary. It may make you think civilized when you were thinking savagely. But that's Lucifer's trick, the light bearer. He doesn't come ugly. He comes in the guise of making things better for you in the music business. Making you a certain plea bargain, in causing one to compromise one's ministry and join the masonry. It comes at you with some promise of making things better for you. New Age is all about that self-help. Self-help. Again, these spirits need a handle, something, a latch, something to latch on to, and preferably pride or anger or fear, because of 2 Timothy 1:7. These spirits love to latch on to these things, which is why the media pumps these things 24/7, not just through the 24-hour day news cycle, which we didn't used to have. We used to get the news 3 times a day. Now you can get news all day, bad news all day, to keep you in a certain mood all day. But evil is fair seeming all around. From rappers who walked the line of Luciferianism, I heard that Lil Uzi Vert was supposed to be pronounced, I heard Joe Budden say this, was supposed to be pronounced Lil Lucifer. Lucifer. I thought that was interesting. And I say that because it's further evidence, like Marilyn Manson said back to him in the tweet, in the infamous tweet after Uzi Vert showed that he had an iced out medallion of Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson tweeted, "Lucifer's rising." Because the New Age philosophy is the philosophy of the day. Do as thou will. You only live once. It's only, it's various versions of it. Okay? But it's the same thing. I'ma do me. Do you? I'ma do me. You gotta get, I gotta get mine. You gotta get yours. That's another version of it. Do what you like. That's another version of it. It's countless versions. Again, like the fallen angel, the jinn, showing you the devils, showing you whatever form is most pleasing to you, which is a copy of what the Most High tends to do when speaking to you in a dream or a vision. It's a way to keep from blowing your mind. So they borrow that idea. Again, there's no creativity among the devils, the jinn. There is only one way, and that is through the Messiah. A person who coming up any other type of way or trying to reach those levels of wisdom or power any other type of way is a thief and a liar. You got to go that way. Sorry. That's just what it is. The spirits don't respect anybody else, any other deity. They give them the biz. Believe me, they feed off of them because it's a part of them. Oh, you didn't hear me. So that's why when I threw Heru at that entity, when I believed much more in Heru than I thought I did, and I had not a mustard seed of faith in Jesus. Maybe the part of me that heard this quote, that even at that time, I was aware of this quote, and I said that I was man enough to do it. The quote was, basically, you really know that you're on the path to knowledge when at any given time you're willing to accept that everything you thought was right is wrong. Everything that you thought was wrong. Everything you believed. And so maybe that little part of me was as big as a mustard seed. But out of my mouth, verbally and consciously, I had no belief whatsoever. And I would say subconsciously, because I was a teacher, of Jesus, Zeus is the pig, but there was no J in Hebrew. I was a teacher of these things. I used to love to get the neighbors that was Christian to come over there and hammer them down if their faith was not sound. And that was an antichrist spirit on me. But I did it very well. So that's why it's funny to me, when I hear the Messianites hollering at me, or those that's into New Age, or even gematria. There's even a few folks that consider themselves believers in the Messiah, but not the Word. That was an interesting conversation. If you believe in an omniscient being, which I do, now, maybe not you, but I do. An omniscient being is all-knowing, can't be outsmarted by man, by his printing press, by his manipulation of language. You see the spelling spell, and one of the main reasons the Most High allowed me to show that was to show you that, yes, it could, you don't think it's possible it could be a lie that there was no sound of J, G, whether it was a J or another figure, an Aramaic figure perhaps. And do you think that these devilish scholars and academics, do you think that the folks who hide the truth from us about the water we drink, that are devilishly motivated and inspired, would allow for you to find that out and give yourself some power, allow yourself to have some power over them through knowledge, which is power, when it's knowledge of the true and living? So everything you can find from them will be tainted concerning this issue in particular. Who is the Messiah? What is his name? Issues spelled out in Psalms. Shout out to Mr. Original Old School, right? It's the big issue, right? The body of Christ would be 4 times bigger if not for that issue. Okay? Folks who learned something, or who believe they've learned something from books, from interaction with academic philosophy concerning theology. And they have tainted ideas about the deity because of this. And then we ascribe to them because they're degreed. They have degrees. And when you dispute with someone because your experience is different than what the academics say, should be the truth. Okay? When your experience is different from what the academics say should be the truth, you're going to lose in the minds of people who have been thoroughly programmed to believe in academia as being the end-all be-all. And they will quote to you what Dr. this and Dr. that said, or what they read in this book or that book. But they don't give you stories. Despite what the record reflects, I've been posting up content I can stand behind, at least to some degree, since about 2012 or 13. Maybe starting with 2011. The Renaissance, what I thought was the Renaissance building, I believe that was the Most High telling me about the coming destruction of Detroit economically, the bankruptcy. But I wasn't fine-tuned in enough to see it as that, as such. So I'll say from, around in 2012 when I was in Atlanta, some of the first posts is that. The reptilians and when I'm sitting on the pool table, when I was down there with Wacko. So, I can stand by a lot of what I said back then, but I hope that you're not the same man that you were last year. So you're talking about 2, 3, 4 years ago. I don't think the same way about everything that you see on those videos. However, there's enough there. And you people say, well, why is it so long? Because I want to give you my full thought process on it. So you can find the flaws. You can pause. Or you can cut the video off. Or you can put it in your playlist or your like list or whatever and watch it later. Okay? But because I try to give you a full plate, don't be a hater. You ain't got to eat it all. Okay? I'm serving it to you. It costs me something. It don't cost you nothing. Don't forget that. You know, I'm not one of them channels that always ask, oh, we need support, we need help. You got common sense. Okay, you know, consistent support, more consistent content. I mean, that goes hand in hand. It takes gigs and other things. I have to get around and, collect certain items sometimes just to get things together. I may have to go somewhere where I can get some free Wi-Fi. But, you know, that ain't your problem. I don't make it your problem. So, you know, don't come at me because I try to give you the best content I can give you. I don't want to give you disposable content. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in just talking about what's happening today, and you have no reason to listen to that tomorrow. Really. All I'm going to do is catch up with the subscriber number at the most. You know? And I'm not counting numbers. I can show y'all some stuff on a screencast-o-matic. Maybe I will when I'm saying this part. But numbers are, I mean, it's because it's not for everybody. And I recognize that from the first time I got on here. I never expected to get no million views on nothing, or even 500,000 views on nothing, even 100,000 views on nothing. Because I'm shocked at how many people are into the songwriter secret and the spelling spell, especially now. Who says something about the spelling spell video? Because part one, like, got 10,000 views now. And it was creeping like the rest of the videos, which, you know, they suppress and they creep too. They creep because it's just for a select few. And they're also suppressed because I've sat there and seen my views at 900 and then see them drop to 4. I'm talking about while I'm looking at it, while I'm looking at the number. Like, I just put a video up, I'm checking it out. Bam, I'm seeing what's happening with it, answering questions. And I look, bam. Wow, it was just 9 something, now it's 4 something. That happens. Happened more than once on everything, but again, that's what I signed on for. Okay, so what you sign on for is to watch or not. Simple as that. And I appreciate those who do watch and those who become a part of this community, this family that we've already built. Okay, so you come in somebody's house, introduce yourself, let yourself be known. Look around. Grounding your feet in my couch like Rick James. Have mercy. So now, with that being said, I think that we realize the point, and the point of this joint is to show you how I arrived at where I am, and that I've tried the other things. I want you to be confident in that. I've got 400 something videos. Before you make a assumption or observation about me, check out more than 3. Because again, what I also wanted to document was my growth. My growth in the knowledge of the Lord. And so, I hope that this has been beneficial to those who are trying to figure out how to word to an unbeliever or to someone in New Age Noir some of the things that was worded within here. I hope it can be beneficial for that and help to bring somebody out of the same darkness I was in. That's my whole purpose for telling this. I don't care about telling the same stories or revisiting this subject, really and truly, except for the fact I have a heart for folks who I know was just like I was. You just want to know something about yourself. You just want to feel something, good about yourself and your heritage, your inheritance on this earth, which is special and beautiful. And I'm glad for it. I have a goodly heritage. I'm glad for it, but not proud of it. Because it's nothing I did unto myself. It was the will of the Father. And I share that inheritance and that goodly heritage with many brothers and sisters from various cultures. And just like the Messiah, I'm from a particular community, and I see them the most. That's where my heart is going to be, unapologetically. But I also have no pride concerning it. I have gladness down into the pit of my heart and soaked into my subconscious mind for me and my kind and for what we're supposed to be. So when I look in my community, I think on ways of, how can I bring us closer to that? This is my small contribution, and freely it was given unto me, and freely I give it. And I thank those who give their support and their contribution to help others in whatever way the Father so allows. I thank you all for your time. Because of some technical difficulties trying to transfer some old things into a new program, kind of got into a jam. And so that's why the delay for this, and I didn't have the pictures like I wanted and the arrangement that I wanted, but I lost a lot of that. And so I hope that this, again, this came from the heart. Father gave me many of these words to say over the past couple of weeks when I've been trying to restore. Okay? And I just wanted to share different things that he shared with me. And, for those who still have doubts, keep living. Experience is the best teacher. But think on this. What and who is the most hated deity in hip-hop? Chew on that for a minute. Think about what does that say about hip-hop. And my condolences to those who were very vested in the NBA Finals and any of that foolishness, or the NBA draft, or any of that. The next series coming out, I don't even want to say the name of it because somebody's going to bite it. But, I thought about the game, and I thought, it all comes down to who has possession in the final seconds. Also, some wordplay I thought about, and putting some butter on some corn. I thought about I should put some on the other side as well. And I thought about the meaning of the other side as well. It means to do the other side also. The as well means also. But it also means to do it as well. To do it just as good as you did this side. So I thought about that. And, the power of words has always been something that has excited me. And, I've got several videos on that, like several on the Songwriter Secret. So, and in various videos, we tend to touch on anything we see in the words that concern the subject. And so I do thank all of you who are new, who saw that video and are here because of that reason. I thank you for bearing with me. And I'm not going to keep y'all any longer. I thank you. And, these are not Hot Pockets. Okay, I just want to thank everyone for watching. And I want to apologize again. I was transferring some clips from my old program into a new program and lost a lot of things in the translation. And so rather than continue to delay the video, taking time to put things back like they were, and some clips I have to actually redo, I said, well, I'll give you the audio, the narration, and some pictures, some stock I already had in my files, and let you know what's coming up. Interview with Days of Noah, new movie coming up soon. Shalom. Thank you.